This is Harry Gines, the first black man of reparations in U.S. history. Case number 99-10-255. Coming to you today with another presentation of The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was a fictional character created by Ralph Ellison. Ralph Ellison, he depicted the Invisible Man being a black man who walked through society in America. As he walked through society, he was seen, but yet the people played him as if he didn't exist. Now, as I bring a upgrade to the 21st century of the Invisible Man, you will be able to see known figures who are actually invisible, how they appear in society. It is hard to have a dual life when you are known for a certain thing. If you are the President of the United States, you would be expected to be known throughout the world in a particular book. But yet, if we look at the books and the presentations that I will bring to you today, you will find that there are many presidents that have been invisible. Now, what do I mean by that? Just like I tried to explain. They walk through society, but yet you don't see them, but they are there. And they find themselves in books and places that you wouldn't expect them to be in. That's true. Now, if I can just get straight to the meat of that point that I'm trying to make. If today we take a 1951 edition, that's what this is. It's a 1951 edition. And it's very important that we capture that year of 1951. We will have to do a time travel today. There will be a time travel by the Invisible Man. Only the Invisible Man can do that. I will take you on a journey of a time travel where you will see people that you have never seen before, but yet you've known them. Of course, this is the Holy Bible, but it is the Masonic version of the Holy Bible, still referencing King James. So all of this is something today that is known, but yet it's invisible. And it is very important. It's very important today to bring this to you so that you will be able to see exactly where certain presidents appear that have never been known to appear in a Bible. That's very shocking to you. I understand. This is the Christian. America is primarily a Christian society. So, it being a Christian society, it has been translated, the Holy Bible, by King James, who put together maybe 40 plus scholars of that time period to translate the Holy Bible from Hebrew into an English writing so that it could be understood by Caucasian people who spoke English. So that was important of that era. So important that we must give note of King James. Let's just stay right there. King James. King James, who lived in an era of the 16th, 17th century, in that time period. Now, in the 16th and 17th century, the technology back then, yes, there were printing presses, but it was really a primitive source compared to the 21st century. Later on, it would be upgraded by Mookie Day. And that Day is spelled D-E-Y. Mookie Day gave the printing press a revision. he had a technique and a skill that could actually duplicate masterpieces. But yet he also could take that same technique, this is around the 19th century, and have a printing press. This is the early makings of writings by machine. Mookie Day is to be credited. I mean, you could do all the upgrading you want, but at some point, you can never overlook someone as invisible as Mookie Day is today in the 21st century. But where I'm going with all that, because I am also trying to show and showcase the feature of the Masonic Bible. It is very important that this book can be purchased on eBay. Now, I'm not here to try to break code in any way, but if I'm purchasing something, by purchase of 21st century means, don't blame the purchaser for your work being sold to the public. I'm not the person to fault for that. But yet, under copyright, it is important that such noted people be credited. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm just here just to show a few excerpts of a few pages. That's all, as in reference. Now, if you're looking at this, it's the same book. There's no trick here. It's the same book. I'm bringing it up to your screen as close as I possibly can. It has the New and the Old Testament. But what we're trying to see here is the copyright. The copyright date is most important. We want to make sure that copyright date is in screen there. That copyright date of 1951. Now, in 1951, the United States had just ended World War II. Now, again, this is what we're referencing. By 1951, this is the edition. Now, why is that important in 1951? The creation of Israel came right after World War II ended in 1947. This edition, as I just explained, is 1951. So there's just a few years in between the ending of the war and the copyright on this book. But keep in mind, I just gave mention to Mookie Day. To have a book this thick, to print it, yes, it would take quite a bit of work to comprise such a research piece to do. You would have to have some form of a printing press. But at the same token, keep in mind, the copyright is 1951. But surely something put together this thick would have had to start it maybe at the beginning of the century, like the 19th, right at the turn of the century. You see, so it may took 50 years to comprise everything together, just to get prepared for actually a copyright. So it would have to be somewhere where the printing of it also should be given credited. And I've done that. I've met that obligation. But as I was trying to explain earlier, that U.S. presidents appearing in the Bible. And because of that, I want to get straight again to the meat of that particular president, because there are many presidents that appear in this Bible. And we want to show that. We want to show that today. So I waste no time. Clearly you can see that this is the same book. I'm not trying to trick you or anything of the sort. But if you can look at that, you recognize that face and the name. Sure you do. You recognize that face and name. Why shouldn't you? He is a U.S. president. He is a U.S. president who came after Lincoln. In fact, he was the vice president of Lincoln. Appearing in the Masonic Bible. Now, he's not the only one. That was a war also. So we're also speaking on war. Lincoln was killed. Andrew Johnson came after that, who repealed, which means taking away, all of the work of Abraham Lincoln. So something drastically happened. Not just him appearing in the Bible, but he's being awarded an accredit in such a way. No one is trying to say anything against the work of taking something away that made the lives of African American descent lives harsher. In other words, if you're skilled and talented, you won't have a problem in America. Hopefully someone will find you soon and get you on the team. But those U.S. blacks descent who were not skilled and talented, but yet maybe they were good with working with their hands, that is a class of people that I'm speaking of who would be better suited as Lincoln set forth under 3/5 laws that still appear in the Constitution. Now hold on one second, because where I'm going and trying to link war with all this, that continuous pattern of war, all my life I've seen nothing but the U.S. either being in a war or a conflict. That's all. I'm 62 years of age. So it continues. They're constantly fighting with someone. So by me protesting, I am not the only person to speak out against a war. But yet today it seems like I am the only person who's speaking out against a war. I don't understand in the 21st century why war is even necessary. This is the 21st century. You have no interest at all in humanitarian. You never have. The African descent are deserving of reparations because they built this country. It's really just that simple. They built this country. U.S. African descent of slavery built America. And this is all really new as far as all the machinery and technology. That's all new. The labor in making America as it is today came from black people. So we must keep all that in mind when you put everything in the midst of war. The causes and effects of war, the end results of war, with 3/5 still remaining. What happens is you don't have a U.S. draft right now. So it's very difficult for people to understand, why would I be so ahead of things? Because you've been fighting for so long that it's inevitable that a draft will be imminent. Especially if you keep going in the direction that you're going in. You always want to fight with someone. The issues of oil in the Middle East, that is not an issue to kill over. Now, I'm making that very plain and simple. And as far as how they are under a church and state law, that is what they are. They're under a church and state. Now, whether that be a mosque or a synagogue, they have not the separation of church and state. And really the separation of church and state is actually new. I mean, especially by looking at the Holy Bible of the Masonic Holy Bible. So the separation of church and state is new. And in comparing that to other nations who accept church and state as one, we must look deeper into what happened with other presidents that appear in the Bible. Now, just hold on one second, please. I'll get right to the meat of this. Here you have, it's the same book. It's the same book. I was speaking of World War II. Now, you recognize that's Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That's who that is, right there. Now, I'm giving you the caption. I'm not asking you to read the whole article. No, I'm not asking you to do that. You recognize FDR. That's all I'm saying. And it appears in the Holy Bible. Now, again, I've just given you two wars. The Civil War and World War II. And the men appear in the Bible. That's what it is. However their work is looked at, and all the killing that went on in those wars. Yes, I am here to protest. Not only that, if you look at FDR and the work again after the war, just like what happened with the blacks in the United States after the war, same thing with FDR. And it's all pretty much within the same era of 1951. FDR ends the war by 1947, but the creation of Palestine, losing its property to create Israel, is accredited to FDR, Stalin, and Winston Churchill. Those are the three superpowers that are accredited for the creation of Israel. Now, the United Nations wasn't around just yet, but however way they chose to carve out the world at that time, that's what they did. And the people of Palestine was ordered to move off a section of land that they had been living on since the days of Jesus. So you can see the similarities coming. The war of World War II, I just gave you the superpowers. They all appear in the Bible, at least the U.S. FDR. See, keep in mind that Masonry is also Masonic, Freemasons, however they be, with all due respect, they are how would you say, a worldly organization, not just a native to America. The tie, excuse me, the tie or the connection of Freemasonry stems across the Atlantic into England. Yes, the royal family, the crown of England, are all tied into Freemasonry, dating back all the way to King James. So that is how the lineage of it all is connected between England, the royal family, and the United States presidency. So they're looking for someone to reach a threshold in their life. And what will they do to make their mark and their legacy? I gave you the superpowers. I gave you two wars, the Civil War and World War II. And the creation of Israel is something that needs to be protested. Now just hold on one second, because how do you protest something that is righteous just in trying to end a war alone? That's righteous. So don't make me out to be something that is unpatriotic. Why would you look at me as unpatriotic when I'm trying to save millions of lives for something that is really unnecessary? It is unnecessary when you can compensate. Yes, you can compensate, but you must have a lower class of people, and that's what you keep cuffed. You keep them cuffed so that they will be the lower class. They should not have to be. When they made the sacrifices, the Palestinians made the sacrifices for whatever Israel is today. Whatever it is. And I will say what it is the United States' number one ally in the Middle East. That's what it is. That foothold really isn't even necessary, because the right thing to do is to open the gates, tear down the wall, same thing like Germany did. So it is possible to see where walls come down rather than going up. And Germany has lived fine. You know, the same thing with the DMZ in Korea. It's not necessary. You're the same people. And it's the same thing when it comes to Israel and Palestine. You're the same people. But someone came there, the three superpowers, and restructured something, and that's stuck a long time now. Another generation, maybe 2-3 generations have been born since 1947. So you've heard of the miseries and the suffrage. But in the United States, keep in mind, I just said, I'm the only man that seems to be really protesting. You know, the invisible man is the only one that seems to be trying to look for an ear to hear the message of a war protest. It's no need for it. You see, if I show you just the back of this book, you know, because sometimes you can learn sometimes just going straight to the back, you know, because this book is just laden with jewels in fine arts. The templates alone in some of this work is just, you can just go at all over. The templates to the artistry in this book is just, it's just something I've never seen before. I mean, yes, it's really special. But if I can go straight to something I want to show you just in a map, you know, this is all people are asking for. It's the same book. Now, if you could make anything out on that, certainly you can see Palestine. You can see Palestine. Now, if you can see Palestine, that's good, you know, because this is how the world once was. And if you notice, if you're noticing how it kind of gives mention to Jerusalem. And see the box? Can you see the box there? That encompasses Jerusalem? Can you see that? I'm hoping so. But if you're looking at the country as I'm showing you, it's very important that maps be something to hold on to. Because as time passes, even the names. You didn't see Israel anywhere in that map of Palestine. This is 1951. But there was no Israel within that region. That's why it's so important to find something that can show as even proof or evidence of Israel creation is new and that the people were deprived. And anytime you have something where someone is being ousted off their land, I mean, even in democracy, they call it eminent domain, which you would be entitled under eminent domain. That's an easy case. You know, that's just too easy. How could the world not give compensation for someone ousted out of, and this is a democracy that we're talking about. We're talking about a democracy formed through ousting people off their land without compensation. Now, when you look at presidencies, because presidencies are important, we're talking 1951 there. But even if you went back to King James, the world leader, how is it possible that you can have a world leader who doesn't recognize inhumane treatment? You see, King James could have ended slavery even back then, at that era of the 16th, 17th century. I mean, it ain't like Africa had just started. I mean, Africa's been around longer than China. As far as China just has the written language, you know, dating back 2,000 years. That is a proud nation, yes. But Africa has the pyramids and everything to show it has been around for, you know, millions of years. You know, and Africa was what everything the U.S. is today. Africa was what the U.S. is today. Yes, the continent of Africa. And everyone wanted to have a commerce. But things got all twisted up somewhere, and we started using more labor in the expansion of democracy. So that's how it happened, but yet the compensation never seems to reach African descent. It never reaches, nor does it reach the Palestinian. So these are the similarities to after the war that I'm trying to bring today. Okay, now that's the history. And I've also mentioned about 3/5. That is real. It's in the Constitution. So where am I going also is that people, I don't want to say they're complainers. I don't want to say it like that, even in protests. But yet I don't like to be classed as a complainer. I am a complainant. Make no doubt to that. And there's a big difference in the two. So if I have to take my protests in a form of social media where I know I'm followed by mainstream news, and I've come to you as in a peaceful fashion as I possibly can, but yet you don't have something in honor. The position of the African descent in the United States. That position is something that you just don't have in order. Now you might want to say, okay, we're not going to recognize the 3/5. You would still be out of order in drafting a U.S. black person. And I will tell you why. Not only do they have the protection under 3/5, which Lincoln did not require a black man to participate in a war of the United States. He did not participate. He did not want their support. Only if they chose to volunteer. Not something that, a white man go looking for a black man to put a uniform on. That is something Lincoln never saw. So the protection of 3/5 is righteous and fair. However, those who would still rather just simply declare themselves as whole, equal to a white man in the United States, being a black man in the United States, if you so choose to just consider yourself whole, then you would be subjected to all rights under U.S. citizenship. And you can clap yourself for that. Because when it comes to the United States draft, what would you have to complain about? Yeah, you think about that. Think about that real good, because when the draft comes, now what happens in the past, which we've seen, those who have a higher income, however way they got it, we ain't even discussing that, but they got some money. What they do is they put their child in school. Right off the bat, oh no, it's a draft. Most of your U.S. politicians today will tell you so, because those are the draft dodgers today in office who had rich parents to keep them from going into the military by way of being drafted. Yes, they come up with all kinds of excuses why they didn't go. Well, you was in school. That's cool. Your parents could afford it. But the flip side of that, the poor black man down in the hood been struggling trying to work, but he ain't never can afford his child just on an instant to be able to say, look, don't even worry about it. I got your back. I'm putting you in school. There's nobody black in the hood that can instantly do that. You go all through the paperwork you want, but it's always that part of admissions that asks you that question. How are you going to pay for these classes? No, this is the answer right now we're looking for. Right now. Then you still eligible for the draft. You're not part of any school. You went up there, but you got kicked out because you didn't have no money. Now, the rich, those who are skilled and talented, have no problem with that. They can be whole. They have no problem. But you being the poor and the less fortunate, See the options? That's why Lincoln set it up there for you. He set it up for you that you could remain 3/5. They took that away from you because when they looking to go to war, they looking for you. Yeah, down in the hood. It even can be, listen to this. Listen to this. No, please. Give me 1 second, please. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, don't laugh. Don't laugh at me. Kuwait versus the United States. That's Korte. Korte versus the United States. It says that even a prison sentence can be, the restraints from that conviction can be lifted, and you would be eligible to be drafted even with a conviction. So there is no place for you when draft time comes. Just remember that it's right here. Korte versus the United States. I'm sorry, I didn't want you to see that. Rembrandt supposed to have done painting through a telescope. So my glasses are something that, my eyes are bad, and I do all I can to bring forth to you your position. I read a lot. I need every advantage I can trying to reach the people so that you will understand your position. That's part of it, because you're so into trying to keep up with the Joneses. Whatever a white man do, you got to do. Keep voting. I am suggesting to the world that a fair election in 2020 be rendered. In order to do that, that means because you are whole citizen, you being whole, male or female, whole citizens, whoever you are, you must have on that ballot a question that shall read, have you applied for selective service? That is the question that must appear on the 2020 ballot for the U.S. presidency. Without that, you're backsliding. You're backsliding, and you're being blindsided. You're being blindsided. You're not necessarily backsliding, you're being blindsided. Because to have the full U.S. citizenship, you shall have no complaints at all. None. When Uncle Sam comes, make sure you there on time, because he's called your number and it's time for you to serve your country. I don't want to hear nothing. It's been given to you beforehand. All my life, I have linked for you, altering history right before your very eyes, showing you the similarities between Palestine and the African descent of the United States. That is history. That is what war does. It creates a class of people that are invisible. Always remember that. You must know the position, because you will be invisible. All you will be is a number. I hope I've made my point. But yet, it's always something. At a time between yes, he is the first president. That's what you're looking at right there. A copy of Mr. President Obama. That is the very first paper edition of announcing his presidency. But yet, he even bombed the region in which Jesus walked. You see, no. A hospital was bombed during his era, under his leadership. But this bombing thing, just hold on one second. I still not quite making my point. That for reasons why you need to stop, especially stop over in the Middle East. Just hear me out. For one, like I told you before, the cars, all the combustion engines, finna get obsolete. Okay, but hold on one second. The oil wells of that region, it must be understood. If you keep bombing like that, you know, it is a possibility that you could hit something underneath. You didn't probably know it was there, but nonetheless, you hit that well with them bombs. When you talking about going to fight, look, man, ain't nothing over there. I'm telling you, ain't nothing over there but a lot of sand, and you got a lot of oil. I mean, other than a plane, what else do you really need it for? I mean, it's going to get obsolete. So you might as well pull up out of there, you know, and give some food to those people would be more beneficial. How to grow in desert lands makes a lot more sense. Real hot there, yeah, desert. So you got some figuring out all these polluted waters. Maybe try it. Maybe it won't hurt the ground so much taking the polluted water over to, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to water my plants with some polluted water. I don't know. It might work. But I'm just saying. Yeah, you need to figure something out rather than that oil thing. That oil thing has gotten kind of old. You know, that oil, no. There's nothing to that, you know. Be driving electric cars here in a minute. So I'm giving you everything. And I'll repeat some of it for you. Like I said, that selective service at the U.S. Post Office used to be where they could fill out an application. But also, you may want to have, what is that? Excuse me. Recruiters. They ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing right now. It was a time where recruiters used to come into public schools. Recruiters would come into public schools and give military tests, and they were definitely, it was more mandatory that you signed up for the registration for selective service. That part of it was mandatory. Now, whether you wanted to take the military test or not, you probably could have got around that, but you was going to sign a selective service application. That's for everybody. And last I heard, it might be late 40s. So on all the ballots, male or female, if you're under 50, yeah, we'd like to know in a fair election, did you file with the selective service for the United States? That's a fair question. It don't take up that much space. Yeah, get that on there, because without that, people claiming to be whole citizens, no, it's time for you to put up, to show your patriotism. I want you to show it by voting, because that's what you say you want to do. But the same people you voting for, remember, you're in a Christian society, and I just showed you where those people really put themselves on a high with King James. You see, so you can play all the games you want. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody, religion, faith, or anything. But I showed you. Now you can keep playing that game with yourself all you want. Stay on your knee. But it's mighty amazing how the invisible man can bring things to your attention. A lot of people know it. A lot of people know that. But it's probably more who don't understand the Bible as much as they really think they do, because it was all translated. So, yeah, you really need to watch people and how certain things are hid within books. You know, it's not really hid, it's just in books. And you got to really grind to get out what you really want to know who you are as a black man with a position in the United States. You hold. Remember that. I'm not trying to take it away from you. It's all yours. But just remember, when he come calling, it was on the ballot, you voted. Did you not vote? Did you give all that information out? Or is that supposed to be the new way of signing up for the selective service? Is that the new way? Just vote? That's guaranteed you hold when you vote, so we really don't have to look any further than that, whether you sign the application or not. They know who you are and where you live. And just think about it. When you really think about being drafted, you know, Malcolm said something. Yeah, Malcolm X said something. He said, be careful, because the people who you say you enemy with will have you fighting their enemies. Something like that. You know the one I'm talking about, how Malcolm used to have them slick little lines like that. Yeah, he told you that. What you got against somebody in Palestine? I just try to explain. Most black people walk around, really don't know much about it at all. You know, but me being the one, the first man of reparations, see, my case is international. Actually, it could be used wherever. You know, and I'm trying to give you some of that, the people of Palestine. I'm trying to give you some of it. Because the same thing you going through is the same thing the African descent in the U.S., we already knew it, but, you know, it happens to y'all too. The people in Hong Kong, like I told you, they don't do that over in China. You go to China, no, you on a time frame to even be there. Now you're seeing the repercussions and the fallout from it, right? Over in China. That's Hong Kong. Hong Kong is only a city in China. That's all that is. But they allow commerce from foreigners for 100 years. After that 100 years, so you go back 100 years right now. That's when the contract was written for foreigners to be merchants in Hong Kong. But when the contract was up, the new generation stayed with their elder. Because that elder is really gone, you know, but they know better. They know better to mix the cultures like that. And they're doing the right thing. They do have an issue right now, but I would suggest, in protesting war as I've just set forth to the Hong Kong people, I'm asking all elders of Hong Kong to be present. The Chinese army, give the elders a chance. You know who's coming out. The elders are going to come out and speak with their children and take them home, because you should be commended. I'm very proud of that government who rejected any other commerce of business within their nation. They're willing not to have that. They've seen enough of Western life to recognize that that might not be something that they want to go any further with. You know, and you did a very good thing, because if you really look at it, during Vietnam, actually, I'm talking to China right now, actually, if you really look at it, the U.S. society, just listen to this, talking to people of China, the U.S. population on a monthly basis, total monthly basis, killed more people in a monthly basis than was going on in Vietnam. So it's always some killing every weekend, something going on, especially the hotter it gets, you know, in these cities. The hotter it gets, you can always look for the homicide rate to go up. So you are really probably doing the right thing. You know, you're probably doing the right thing by, you brought it into it, but you're just in the fallout of it now. Some of your young people got, some of your young people just got, as they say, an eighth of democracy, and they think they got the game and running with it. Hey, look, in fairness, why don't you try to issue some visas or something? You know, issue some visas so they can kind of send them on some tours. You do that. Sponsor some tours, you know, so that they can see how the rest of the world really does live. They just got an eighth of the good life because those businesses was in your country knew not to get out of order. But in the United States, some same businesses, people running in and out, shoplifting, doing all kinds of things all the time. And any kind of business that left up out of there. You know, it's a real Sodom and Gomorrah society. It really is. So Western ways was something that you probably would have to get used to. I mean, I just showed you in the Bible how U.S. presidents even appear in the Bible. So it's a lot of things there that you probably, it's going to be a little rough, but work with the elders of those young people that are out in the streets right now. And like I said, use some precaution. Use some precaution. You don't have to start, airing nobody out. You don't have to do all that. Let the elders come out. It's an elder day. See if you can find your elders and get them out there in those streets also, so they can talk to, their siblings. Because everybody has love for China. So we hope y'all work that out. I've given you my directions with that. And I just want to end the presentation today. The presentation will end, because I think I've gotten in as much as I could. Like I said, I've given you all the way up to President Obama, all the way back to world leader of King James, of the Bible. I've given you all that in between, wars and everything. Anytime people wanted to stop, had the power to stop war and slavery, you have the power to do so, but you don't. Like I said, you just don't do it. You like that lower class, and you willing to keep it there. Maybe people might die off or something. That's how you look at it. I understand. But yeah, we want to give as much respect as we can along the way. This is an educational presentation. That's what this is about. It's not here to offend or break code or try to stir up some beef. But I can only bring you for your own eyes, for you to see. And what you really do know, because you probably said it before, or you've heard it before. Oh yeah, I've heard presidents being, Freemasons, and I've heard that. Yes, you have heard that. I know you have. Freemasons, they're presidents. You heard that. But what you didn't know, that they have comprised themselves, they are comprised inside the Holy Bible. So you have to really judge the people from a psyche, what you're really dealing with. Plus, they like to fight, believe in that bombing thing, So, like I said, learn from a psyche thing of what you're really dealing with. When people say they're on a high, how high they will go for that legacy to be seen in the same light as King James. Yes, they would like to be seen in the same light with their brethren. Now, with that, I want to be able to let the world know that I am Harry Gines, and I am here to save as many lives as I possibly can. And yes, I do ask that all war be resolved in the 21st century if you focus more on feeding the world. That's it. Joint efforts between nations who are fighting. Let's just stop fighting. Let's just start getting back to the basics. Okay, it's a property land out there. We understand, but it's going to all harvest up in the end. Let's see if we can go out and work together. So you've gotten away from working. Period. Everything's a push button. Everything. So you really don't do any real work. I mean, you work. Yeah, it is work. This is work. Believe me, this is hard work. Yes, it is. Risky too. But with that, I can only hope that people understand that it's necessary to protest war. Because if you use that energy, if you just think about it just in raw manpower, just raw manpower, if you just look at it that way, not to mention any kind of equipment, 21st century equipment, just what an army really could do if they turned it towards the field. Not to a killing field, but a field to harvest. You see, it's so backwards and so twisted that you won't allow yourself, to be brotherly. You just won't. When you're trying to eat like everybody else trying to eat, well, the fields out there stay just turning into a dust ball. That's all it's turning into because nobody want to go out there and work it when it's all said and done. I understand. I understand. You find it better and easier to who can be the laziest and just kill up each other. You know. Over what? When it all comes down, that's the first thing the judge want to know. Well, what is it over? Come to find out, you know, some of the most pettiest things you ever want to imagine. Yeah, you can't resolve nothing unless you're trying to kill each other. But, like I said, if you channel that energy towards that lot across the street or adjacent to your house, you wouldn't have time to go out trying to do the things you're doing to get you killed and in trouble. You got to work that field over there. Yeah, feeding your family. But just remember everything that was said to you today because it was serious. The 2020 election for presidency must have a box that says yes or no that you are registered for selective service. But like I said, one way or another, they know who you are. This is Harry Gines, and always ask yourself, would you really bear arms against the Palestinians? As a person of African descent, would you do that? This is Harry Gines, and I'll be around, y'all.